and welcome to the TechFlow show. I'm your host Casper, and today we have a very exciting episode. We're going to be looking at the new, relatively new iPad Air. And this is just going to be a first look and kind of impression of the iPad Air, especially the box. This is the 32GB Space Gray edition. Now, just for reference, I have a last generation, third generation actually, not directly last, but similar packaging iPad right here. So we can sort of compare the boxes and sort of see how they stack up. So let's get to it. Alright, so over here I have the two boxes stacked on top of each other. Now, there is a small difference in packaging. It isn't very big, but as you can see, the iPad Air is just a tiny bit smaller in packaging, but it really isn't much. It is still a 9.7 inch tablet. The bezel has been reduced quite a bit, and that is what we're seeing in the packaging difference. Other than that, though, there isn't the big difference in the outer rim of the packaging anyway. It still has the same looks to it, and of course you can see that the bottom of the iPad Air has the space gray color on this black model, of course, whereas the bottom of the old iPad has the silver back to it, even though it's the black model like we used to see on iPad. So let's pop the box and see what's inside. And here it is with just the lid off. As you can see, the iPad Air fills up the entire box, just like you'd expect from we've seen from the older iPad boxes. Something I did find a bit interesting though is that the small layer of film on top of the bottom of the lid has been reduced a bit, and it is not as soft as we've seen on the older iPad boxes. I think it was a conscious decision to reduce the footprint of the boxes, but I don't know. It could be coincidental. I don't know. But let's try to see if we can get the iPad Air out of the box and see what's below it. And the first thing you notice is how incredibly light it is. It really weighs nothing. If you've ever held an iPad mini, this will feel, I mean, it's heavier than the iPad mini, but obviously it is, but it feels closer to the iPad mini than it feels to the older Retina iPads. Obviously not as light as an iPad 2, at least I don't think so. I don't have one for reference. But if my memory serves me right, the iPad 2 was incredibly light. And the back, quite a different color than I expected, actually. I haven't seen the space gray models anywhere, other than this right now. It's a little bit more on the light side than I expected. I expected a little bit darker, like we've seen from the iPhones, the iPhone 5. Although I actually kind of prefer this. So I'm glad that they did this. Let's just take off the back film here and see if we can get a better look at it. I don't know if it comes across on the video, but it seems quite glossy. I'd say quite a bit more glossy than the old iPad. Could be because it's just a new one. I don't know. I think it's more glossy in general. Texture-wise, it feels very matte, actually. It is very soft. I really like the feeling of it. Let's just pop up all the film and see how it feels. I'll just lay the camera right here. Again, incredibly light. I cannot stress this enough. You don't even feel that you're holding anything. Wow, it is really light. Let's have some comparison shots next to the older gen iPad. And here they are right on top of each other with the new iPad right here and the old iPad right below it. Now, the difference in how big they are doesn't look like much when you have them right next to each other, but it seems like much when you just look at them, which is kind of funny. Also, if we put them both on the table here and we sort of dive down, you can see the difference in height. I'll just place the camera nicely right there. And I don't know how well it shines through, but it is pretty significant actually. I mean, it might not look like that much, but when you hold it, it just feels a whole big difference. And the same with the weight actually. As I stressed when I took it the first time, I felt it was incredibly light. But when I held it next to the old one, I don't know, the big difference wasn't actually that big. But then I tried walking around with them a bit, and when you actually walk with them, the difference is just humongous. Like, I don't know if you ever tried holding an old iPad in one hand and walking around with that. You know, it was possible, and it didn't. I mean, I'm not saying the old iPad was heavy, but um, after a while, it would just get a wee bit uncomfortable. Like you wouldn't feel as if it was natural. You know what I'm saying? Whereas with this, it's just I pick up the iPad, right? Um, so I'm thinking that I'm gonna boot it up, and we have a look at that. Now, something I forgot before was to go through the contents of the box under the iPad, of course. And it is pretty standard, that's why I forgot it. You have your Apple manuals, just like any other iPad or Apple product, really. Manuals, warranty, etc. You have your cable for charging. This is a lightning cable, of course. So it doesn't fit with older models. It fits with the iPad 4 and it fits with the iPhone 5 and up, but it doesn't fit with, let's say, 3rd gen iPad or an iPhone 4S. Then you have your charger. And something that is actually quite a bit interesting is how the charger is one unit. If we go over to the last gen iPad and it's actually a bit harder to get out of the box, the old one, even though the box is bigger. Just tip it to the side like that. You can see that the charger is split up into 2 chambers. The charger is disassembled and split up into 2 chambers. One right there, and the other right there. The wall plug and the actual power department. Whereas the new one puts them in one chamber. Now here I am again with the iPad Air. I have booted it up. I've run with it a few days, not long. I'm not full on ready to give my full-blown review yet, but I do have some thoughts on it. And it came out of the box with iOS 7.0.4, the latest version. Obviously, if you bought it at release, it would be 7.0.3, I think. Not quite sure exactly what software was out when it came, but Apple updates it to the latest version when you get it, so that's nice. It is extremely fast, as you would expect. The processor Geekbench is at around 2300, roughly. GPU is also very fast. You get like 60 frames per second on all of the 3D mock tests, really. I mean, it drops in some tests. The physics tests takes it a bit lower. I think I got 40 frames, maybe, per second. But still extremely good. Nothing you'll really notice. Everything you really do on it is blazingly fast because no software yet really takes advantage of what it can even do. I mean, even that trigger doesn't even heat up. And that's actually what's most impressive about this to me. I was running the 3rd generation iPad before this, and it heated up like a when you used it. I mean, it would get so hot on hardcore usage that you could barely hold it. And this thing, it doesn't even get hot. Not at all. I mean, I'm running things like Infinity Blade 3, and I'm running Dead Trigger and all this kind of stuff. Dead Trigger 2.
And it looks amazing, but it doesn't get hot, and that's brilliant. I love that about it. You can comfortably hold it without getting your fingers burned. I will say though that the system software iOS 7, I had expected the animations to be a lot smoother and that kind of stuff, because one thing that bugged me a lot about the third generation iPad, and one of the reasons I switched to that actually, again, like you can, we'll put it here, doing it in reverse here. Some of the animations, like going to the app switcher, and when you are in two applications, let me just boot two up, doing the four-finger gesture to switch between apps. I expected that to be quite a lot faster and a lot smoother, but it turned out it was actually pretty much the same, speed of that. So that leads me to believe that that is software, and when it gets better on the iPad Air, it'll probably also get better on the fourth and third generation. I haven't really experienced that much of a problem with it on my iPhone, so I don't know that it'll get smoother there. It's just pretty smooth already, so it's not really a big deal. Overall, I mean, this is not my final review score. This is just the impression score. But I would say, if you have a third generation iPad, if you have a fourth generation iPad, you don't need to go up. If you're an Apple freak, if you use your iPad very heavily, it's a brilliant device. I mean, I would upgrade, and I did upgrade from my third generation, and you do get a much lighter and much faster iPad. I mean, it's only fast if you use it. I mean, it's only faster if you use it for things that need the extra speed. You will experience faster apps booting and iBooks loading up much faster. If you have a big PDF file, you'll just open it instantly rather than sitting there waiting like half a minute if it's huge, right? So yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching.